Nigel Hope. Looking forward to chatting to Nigel. So, Nigel, probably no one better to introduce you than yourself. So, yeah, welcome and tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, James. Well, first of all, thanks so much for the opportunity of having a chat with you today. I'm a 50-year-old musician, born and raised in Hobart. I studied here music, and then I played thousands of gigs here before I moved to Melbourne and studied at the Victorian College of the Arts. I studied a degree in improvisation. I've played all over Australia, all the states and territories. I've toured to Japan. My main instruments have been electric bass and double bass, but I play a lot of guitar these days and sing as well. So, you know, it's always that broadening of who you are and what you want to do. At 38, I got diagnosed with acute late onset schizophrenia, which pretty much took everything away. Well, not pretty much, it took everything away from me. My wife, my kids, my career, friends. It did a lot of damage. About 6 years ago, I got re-diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. And if you think of them as being under the same umbrella, schizophrenia is basically delusions or illusions of hearing, seeing, touching, smelling things can all come in to that umbrella. Schizoaffective disorder is the same kind of thing, but it's all emotions based. It's not, I don't see or hear things or feel things or anything like that. But I often describe it as having your emotions played by, you know, your emotions are a yo-yo and it's being used by some crazy mad bastard. And, you know, like that's, you get thrown around the place and it's hard. But also it's been a great teacher. You know, I can't lie and say it's been all negative. Of course, the negatives have been huge, but I've grown a lot as an individual and as a person, and I am a strong, you know, advocate for myself and others. You know, and to have come to this stage, I mean, my psychiatrist is amazed that I've got to this stage after my first diagnosis, because she said, "Oh, I never thought you'd end up being this healthy." And yeah, it's been a lot of hard work, but it's all been worth it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll come back to talking about that. But you know, at your heart, you're a musician.
Damn right.
So do you have a genre? Do you play across a range of different genres? Are you in bands, sessions, whatever?
One of the great things about growing up in Hobart was the fact that there was lots of different sorts of music going on all the time, and there still is. But I hit the scene here when two of our great bass players had just left the state, a guy called Kevin Cooney, who I think of as just one of the master bass players, and Tim Partridge, who we lost a year or so ago. And both of those guys had just moved to the mainland to do things. So I sort of walked into the Hobart scene and there was no other bass players around. So I'd studied at high school, I played a lot of electric bass and then started to play double bass at the end of that.
Mhm.
So I went straight from that to just doing gigs all the time, blues gigs, jazz gigs, rock gigs all the time. Then I moved into the conservatorium where I had to learn how to play classical bass,
Yeah.
which was never really my thing, but I learned a lot from doing it. And I think that's one of my mainstays through my life has been self-education and the empowerment that gives you. So even though it wasn't my sort of music, there was a lot to love about it, you know.
Mm.
And but as far as genres go, all of those I've played in traditional Cuban bands, different African bands.
Yeah.
Played a long time in a Spanish trio,
Yep.
which was great, and learned a lot about Spanish music. So for me, it's an ongoing process of just the more you listen to you, the more you learn. And music's one of those great things, is the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know much. So, you know, I like that. You know, I like that. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of a good thing to go in with life. You know,
Mm.
if we stop, it's like martial arts. You know,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
stop, you never stop learning. You never stop learning.
No. No. In fact, the expression you just used, you know, the longer I train, with same sort of thing. The longer I train, the more I realise how little I know. And,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just as appropriate in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for example,
Yeah.
as it is in music, I guess. So
Well, I think any of the arts, to
yeah,
be honest with you,
yeah,
you know, any of the arts, and I'm not just talking, you know, music and drawing and painting and
mm,
martial arts, but things like cooking, you
mm,
know,
yeah, yeah,
things like flower arranging. If you think about the dedication, the time, the knowledge
mm,
that you put into any artistic pursuit, they actually all tick the same boxes
yeah,
and they have the same mentality in
mm,
the sense that you train yourself. You know, it's that old thing, you learn the rules so you know how to break them better.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a little bit like that. You have to be
yeah,
free with it, I suppose, is what I'm saying. And that takes some sort of artistic
yeah,
creativity, whether or not you're on the mat or on the stage. You know,
mm,
it requires being in the moment, doesn't it? You know?
totally. So
Yeah, because if you're not, you had your arm broken, you know, or if you're not, you've hit the wrong chord, and that stands out, you know, pretty bad when you're a bass player.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah. I think that being in the moment is a huge commonality, really. I mean, yeah, you can't be anywhere other than in the moment when you're rolling, you know, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
No, no.
Yeah, so
If
it's,
you're thinking about what you want to do,
yeah,
you've
yeah,
already missed the opportunity to
yeah,
do it, you
yeah,
know. And same with music, same with life, you know.
mm,
It is, you know, because of the illness, and well, actually, well beforehand, I'd done a lot of looking into different meditations,
mm,
and I did find one. Well, I studied a lot, but there was an idea of a moving meditation that is just constant. And the whole point is to just be in the moment, every moment,
mm,
all day.
yeah,
It's very hard to do, but it's like anything. The more you practice, the easier it
yeah,
is. And
yeah,
it's no more obvious when you're rolling or when you're playing.
yeah, yeah,
When you're in that moment, you know it, you know,
yeah,
and it feels great. And the whole idea with the meditation is to be in every moment when you're doing something.
mm,
It's kind of like the philosophy, I suppose, of the samurai. They were not just fighters. They put perfection into everything they did. Their tea ceremony, their,
yeah,
you know, absolutely everything they did. And
yeah.
they weren't just
Calligraphy. Yeah,
exactly. Art was a huge part of their life,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
It's
understanding, deep understanding, and that respect. You know, I miss that respect in our society,
mm,
unfortunately. You know,
yeah.
it's not something that's held with as high a regard as I think it probably could
Yeah.
be. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, I'm 7 years older than you. I'm 57, and I think back to my childhood, and even just the simple respect of, if you pass somebody walking down the street, you would automatically say hello or good morning,
Yeah.
or good
Oh, yeah,
afternoon, or
exactly.
it was just automatic that you would
Yep.
give the person the respect of a greeting, and vice versa, and
Yeah. Yeah.
nowadays people walk with their heads down, and
Yeah.
and
Well, it's become very Melbourne like that. The first thing I noticed when I moved from Hobart to study in Melbourne was the people on the street. Totally different.
yeah,
Everybody in Melbourne was that head down, didn't want to make eye contact. And before that, growing up here, totally different.
yeah.
Kind of know everybody by default. Or they know somebody It's just, that
Well, it's a
Hobart thing.
big country town, I guess, by a lot of standards, isn't it? Really?
Oh, it is. It is. It is.
I mean,
And
Hobart.
it's still very much so that,
Yeah,
in a lot of respects. We've grown up a lot. I mean, I love the fact that we went from, the most backward of states when it comes to even, the acceptance of homosexuality,
yeah,
for instance. And then we all of a sudden
mm.
we're the most progressive, so we kick above our weight, that's for sure.
Yeah. Until I moved to Hobart last year, I hadn't been here for many years, probably 12. Actually, I'd been here for a very brief trip, I think, but I hadn't really spent any time here for 10 or 12 years, and it's a very different town now to
Yeah.
even 10 or 12 years ago, really. So
Yeah, very different. I mean, I unfortunately, with my illness, I'm on a pension most of the time, and well, all the time, and I don't get a lot of work outside of that. And one thing I certainly noticed is, the like rental prices or house prices now. We're very, and that's, just a sign of the times. It's unfortunate, but you got to wear it and move forward. I think that's the thing I tried to share. And look, I don't pretend I can do it all the time, but look, having that idea of, history is history. We're in the moment. Have a little bit of an eye on the future, so you know where you're going, or knowing where you want to go, but be prepared for that road to not always go straight, and but if you just keep going, and that's the thing we used to always talk about in training with Duncan, was just keep going, just turn up, keep training, keep going. Same thing in life, keep going. I've been I've been suicidal and many times in the past. Not anymore, thankfully. I gave up drinking some time ago, and that completely changed my life. I mean, different people for different things for sure, but I just think alcohol is one of those, sadly too easy to get hold of, and it is basically a depressant, and I found I was drinking with making poor drinking choices, and in the end it just it got too much. But that's the whole point of moving forward, is that you don't always make the right decisions at the right time. Do you?
No.
Because it's not like we have all of the information right now. So you just keep picking it up, moving forward, and trying to keep a smile on your face where you can.
Yeah, I like the idea of the moving meditation, in that in that, even if it's just a presence of mind to appreciate the beauty around you all the time, because we probably miss so much because we're focused on whether it be something negative or work, or
we miss a great deal through worry. It inhibits us from doing things. Whereas if you were in the moment, none of that would exist. And that's the you know, like if you're in the moment, it's like, oh, there's the worry, or it's, you know, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And it takes a lot of practice to do that.
Mm.
I think I used to be better at it than I am now, maybe in a way, but just because I haven't practiced it a lot recently. But I find whenever I pick up an instrument or sing
Yeah.
or start doing anything around music, or even just doing the dishes, for instance, you know, I put some loud music on, dance, not well, but I dance, and
Yeah.
I do the dishes, and all of a sudden they're done, and it was all in the moment because I'm listening to a great song. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the power I find of music, and has always been. You know, somebody will hear a song
Mm.
and it'll take them somewhere. You know, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that, you know, and that can be instrumental music, doesn't need to have lyrics. Somebody will hear something and just go, oh my God, you know, like that's touched me.
Yeah.
That's powerful stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I had a previous guest on the podcast actually talked about a particular stage in his life that he'd moved away from, which was, you know, filled with drugs and alcohol, and he doesn't listen to the music that he listened to through that period of his life. In fact, he said
Yep.
he threw away all the CDs
Because
because
they reminded him,
they were they were
associated with it.
like a trigger, right? You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and and I guess music can take you anywhere, really, can't it? I mean, we attach different emotions or thoughts or memories to different music.
Well, and it's such a real attachment. You know, it's like when we hear that song or that thing that we love,
Mm.
it takes us straight to that place. There's no mucking around, you know. And I think that's really, you know, I call it the only real magic. And
Mm.
I heard somebody describe it as that, because if you think about it, it is, you know,
Yeah.
the study of music is actually not that hard. It's basic maths. It's basic mathematics.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it can get quite tricky, but if you start at the basic mathematical point of music, it's
Yeah.
actually not. There's 12 notes, you know,
Yeah.
mainly 4 beats in a bar, all that sort of thing. It's not, you know,
Yeah.
it's how we grow as a person
Mm.
within that, and then we make our own, you know, artistic choices or whatever. You know, it's very exciting
Mm.
to be of, but people hear something, oh, I could never do that, or, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't, you know, I think being able to play music has nothing to do with your enjoyment of it, you know.
Mm.
I would much rather play for a room of people who loved music than a bunch of musicians. You
Yeah.
know, because I'm a musician, I know what it's like when I'm listening to a band. I'm going, yeah, that's really good. What's that? You know, we start analysing. It's actually can be detrimental to. I think it was actually when I was studying at the BCA. I did 3 years there, and that was full on.
Mm.
I got to the end of it. I didn't. I needed a break.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like playing or listening to music at all, because I'd spent 3 years analysing absolutely everything I did
Yeah.
and everything I heard,
Yeah.
and it drove me nuts. And in the end, I took 9 months off playing altogether,
Mm.
didn't touch the instrument, and then it was back one day. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I want
Yeah.
to play again, you know. And you know, but I've had probably 3 times like that through my
Yeah.
career where I've actually taken extended breaks on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's been really beneficial each time. I
Mm.
did take a couple of years when I first got ill, and that wasn't nice. But then nothing felt good in
Yeah.
that first 2 years. So yeah, I was basically a vegetable, James. You know, like I went from having a full-time job,
Yeah.
teaching martial arts 2 or 3 times a week, training every night at home if I wasn't
Yeah.
teaching,
Yeah.
and doing gigs. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and so that's how busy I was. You know, Fridays were great, full time in a music store, 3 hours of training, and off to do a gig. You know, it was the energy, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that was my
Yeah.
day on my Friday. So, it's a big change, but um, really all of that stuff is, history is history, but look at the good parts, and the things you've learned is also part of moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so you talked about working in a music store, going off to training. You're talking about your martial arts training.
Hmm.
So, tell me a little bit about that. What was the style?
Okay, so it's called Bujinkan Ninjutsu. So you think of
Yeah.
ninjutsu as
Yeah.
is ninjas, but Bujinkan is an umbrella name, Hall of the Divine Warrior. It's basically 9 different schools
Yeah.
of traditional Japanese martial art. So if you go back, the oldest school that we teach from is, well, nearly 1,000 years old now. It's 900 years old.
Mm.
And if you think of all of the techniques that would have been used in feudal Japan era, all the
Yeah.
different weapons, and that sort of thing, that's what I studied. Very traditional. You could call it traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, which is obviously very different to Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
The Japanese stuff is more standing,
Yeah.
and
I started
traditional.
Japanese. Yeah.
Yeah, and and I know the Japanese, they use like a small circle and a large circle jiu-jitsu techniques as well.
Mm.
We're very much end a fight as quickly as we could in whatever way
Yeah.
we could.
Yeah.
So if someone grabs you, it's not pretty, you
No.
tear out their throat or poke them in the eyes, but it's all about movement, space, distance, like any martial art, getting that distance right and controlling your body. So, we would, when I was training all the time, it was nothing for me to do a 3-meter dive roll,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
nothing at all. I could easily dive roll over that, and
Yeah.
I'd even built up my body. I was doing push-ups in the bridge position. So
Yeah.
I'd be all the way back. And I could
Yeah.
actually, I was learning this from a guy in America called Matt Fury.
Oh, I've
And
got a few of his books. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
and so
actually.
I did the bridge
Yeah.
and all the squats.
Yeah.
I always sucked at that bloody push-up, the Hindu push-up. God, that's hard to do when you're
Yeah.
6'5", I tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was having back problems for a long time, and I thought, I'm going to give this bridge a try. Well, of course, first time I got to, I only just got to the top of my head, but after a few months, I could rest
Yeah.
on my forehead and my toes, and my belly button would be sticking
Yeah.
up to the ceiling, and then I'd I'd do 10 push-ups from there.
Yeah. It's
So
pretty clever the way he teaches it, where you start on a wall and walk your hands down the wall, and yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I missed all of that. I just went straight to trying it on the back, as you do, as us guys do.
Yeah.
But it was amazing how what a difference that made,
Mm.
and the things you pick up. But that's just like, studying anything to be better at it. It
Yeah.
takes time and dedication, but those things don't seem like time and dedication if it's
Yeah.
something you want to do. It's just you
Yeah.
do it because you love it. And I think that's probably one of the things I really miss is my physicality. I was so strong.
Mm.
I'm nearly 6'5", just under 6'5", and
Yeah.
when I was walking around training, it was 110 plus kilos of
Yeah.
basically muscle,
Yeah.
and but the thing I learned most about, actually one of the best things I learned about martial arts was awareness,
Mm.
because it's actually stopped me being beaten up a couple of times.
Mm.
Being tall and being in pubs is not such a great thing sometimes,
No.
because you will find you're a instant magnet for I'm sorry to use the term, but the angry little man syndrome.
Mm.
It's definitely a thing.
Mm.
And I was at the Republic in Hobart, the Republic Bar and Cafe, and I was outside, and a guy in a hoodie came past and knocked into me. Oh, that's interesting. Just let that go for now. And he sort of walked off in another area, and I could tell he was looking at me, and I thought, this is all a bit strange. And I looked up, and there's a table of 5 guys with hoodies all on, looking at me. I thought, well, that's a bit strange. I bet this guy's with them. Anyway, he comes back past me and runs into me again and waits. I thought, I'm not taking on 6 of you guys. I'll just let you walk away, you know. But it was the awareness of training. I didn't feel in danger, but I was totally aware of everything that was going on. It was awesome. It was awesome because if I'd taken that angry male approach that, hey, you just banged into me, what do you think you're doing? I could have started a big fight. But because I put myself out of it being a thing about my being better than someone or about my ego, I took it out of it. You know, there's no ego, there's no place for ego in that sort of situation.
No.
And there's no place for ego in training either, or music, you know. Or there is a bit in music. It does help some people, but I don't think so in training.
Yeah, well,
it depends your competition, if you're really competition, I suppose, too. But
I mean, my coach is the head coach of Will Machado, John Wills, the head of Will Machado in Australia.
And,
Machado brothers have a saying that I think at least one of them, it may probably more, have above their gym door, which is basically, you know, leave your ego at the door. This is a place of winning.
Yep. Well, I've always loved that saying that we used to use. It is exactly the same. It's like, you know, come with an empty cup.
Yeah.
You know, if you come to training with an empty cup, you're ready to fill it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so training never goes the way you think it's going to go. Same with music in a way. Music, the way I play music is very free these days. I can go along and pretty much play any sort of music, and it's fine, and it's all the same to me. It's weird to kind of put it like that, but it's all music, you know, and I try to do the best that I can within that. But it's always different. You know, even if you play with the same band all the time, it's always going to be slightly different. And it's the same with training. You go along, and even if you expect that you know what's going to happen, it never does.
Well,
you know?
Well, I think the thing with martial arts is you can't control the response of your sparring partner, your training partner, your opponent.
Yeah.
You may be able to influence their response, but you can't.
It's definitely got that difference.
Yeah,
it's definitely got that difference from music, and that's probably the major difference, is that not knowing what the response is going to be.
Yeah.
Because in music, you know, you have the set of rules that we're all sticking to, and we're all there for the one reason. Whereas martial arts, even though we're all there to help each other, ultimately it's a process of, you know, the individual. But then that's life, isn't it? You know, it's all a process of the individual, and then the better we can be as individuals, the more we learn to be with other people. You know, knowing ourselves. Yeah.
I think music is a little bit more like, you know, the martial arts that have kata. So the music playing with a band is like a kata, where occasionally one of the band members gets the freestyle.
Oh, look, it's very much like that. I think the biggest things I find is the correlation between martial arts and music is that the individual has their own path, but it's that dedication and that drive and that wanting to be better, just because you know, you turn up to training because you want to be better, you turn up to a gig because you want to be better, or rehearsals, you know. And
even the more, you know, the simple, well, probably maybe not so simple stuff like tempo and timing and beats. I mean, it's, you know, sometimes if we're teaching a technique that involves, you know, maybe footwork or handwork or whatever, it might be, you know, boom, boom, boom. You know, so we'll use a rhythm. We'll actually use music to explain what we want the person to do with their hands or their feet, or
Great.
what it might be. So yeah, definitely.
Well, it's one of those great things that you kind of can communicate in, even if you don't know anything about music. Like just exactly the way I'm not saying you don't know anything about music. I don't know, but
I'm tone deaf. I like to think I know a bit about music, but you don't want to hear me. You don't want to hear me sing.
Do you know? This will make you laugh. My mum was allowed to sing. Was allowed to be in her school choir as long as she mimed. What would that do? And it was funny. Recently, she called me and sang me happy birthday on the phone. I said, Mum, do you realise you just sang that correctly?
Yeah.
And she said, no, I didn't. I said, Mum, I'm the musician out of the family. You just hit every note properly. And she said, oh, I've never done that before.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. Like my son Matt, talking to you before we started recording.
Yeah.
He's a musician. He was primarily a guitarist who wanted to sing, didn't believe that he could sing.
Oh yeah.
Went off and had lessons in singing, and then the next band that he was in, which is the band he's in now, he's the lead singer, but he also is now a singing teacher.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's beautiful, man. That's actually really beautiful. That's what I love about arts. Whatever it is, there's the people in it, generally want more people to do it and be good at it.
Yeah.
Martial arts is the same. We always want more people at training and that are passionate and want to get good at it because it's good for all of us.
Yeah.
Good on him. That's pretty impressive, man. I've just gone back into teaching more myself.
Oh, cool.
Trying to pick up some students because I haven't done it for a while, but really it's probably one of the most rewarding things you can do as a human being in teaching whatever. When you see that light bulb moment happen for a student, you go, oh God, that was worth it.
And then
that was really worth it.
And then down the track when they surpass you is just like the greatest feeling as a teacher. And I'm speaking from experience as a martial arts teacher. But when they surpass you, it's just the greatest feeling in the world, really. That, that you've given them the foundation that they've been able to then develop,
move on, develop themselves.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, go on.
Well, I hate to bring up my son Solomon, who I'm sure you know. Obviously, he surpassed me in height recently, which was like a totally different thing. But he's great because he's taken on that thing of always wanting to learn and be better. And it shines through him. But that was very much because of his upbringing in that way too. So he's kind of a really natural personal learner. He likes to teach himself and always be learning things. So that he's like my greatest achievement from a teaching perspective in that way. But I've got this awesome student. I suppose he's still a student. I mean, I haven't taught him for years, but Oscar Naylands, who's playing double bass in Melbourne now from here. And he was always an absolute pleasure to teach, and he's always had the nicest things to say about my teaching. But it's what life is all about. It was our communication. It was just great. He was at a place where he wanted to learn, and I had the information and was prepared to give it to him, happily, eagerly give it to him, because as a teacher, we want our students to do well. Now, if you don't, why teach? You're not teaching then, you're inhibiting. Teaching, learning doesn't stop at the end of school. I think that is something that I certainly left school and just went out in life like we all do and just, had a bit of fun. But there does come a point where you realise, there's so much out there that I don't know. I kind of kicked myself for never having learned a language yet. But, I've still got time.
Yeah, same actually. And I must confess, I have started learning Spanish,
Hmm.
an app on my phone, so many times. I
At
I
least you pick Spanish, not Japanese or something like that, man. Because
Yeah, well, I went to school. A lot of my schooling was in England, so I we did French. Everybody did French at school in England. So
Mhm.
the sensible thing for me to do if I want to pick up a language would probably be to go back to French. But I
Yeah.
also at school in England studied Latin for a couple of years as well.
Okay.
So Latin, but Italian and Spanish, very much Latin influenced
Yeah.
languages.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
An
yeah,
interesting, an interesting step. Not, I'll take teacher mode for a second.
yeah,
Interesting step. Jump back into French for a little while,
yeah,
because
yeah. I should have.
because the whole thing with learning one language is it
Yeah,
makes the next language easier to learn. And if you've already got a basis in French, just warm up your French a little bit. And
yeah,
what you'll find is then when you go to Spanish,
yeah,
you will actually go, okay, your brain will click in because it's got not just one language, it's also got a bit of French in there as well.
yeah,
You'll find once your brain starts looking at different things that way, I mean, the brain's the best, thing in our
yeah,
bodies.
yeah,
Once you start changing the way your brain works, then I think Spanish would probably fall in quite well, especially if your French is, not that far,
Oh, well,
not that hard to do.
it's school. It's schoolboy French, and school was 41 years ago. But
Come
um,
on.
but yeah, but I could certainly pick it up.
Yeah.
So you're teaching bass, you're teaching guitar, you're teaching singing.
I'm teaching bass and guitar, but I've actually broken my teaching into two areas. So
Yeah,
one is bass.
yeah,
I prefer to take people on who have some experience,
mm,
mainly because I've done decades of teaching scales and the basics.
yeah,
And I think my knowledge now is more suited for people who have already a bit of musicality, but maybe lack a bit of direction
mm,
or that sort of thing, or are trying to find their own
yeah,
voice in music.
yeah,
That's where I excel as a teacher. So I'm doing that for bass, but I'm also doing it as a open instrumental course or study as
yeah,
well. So
yeah,
anybody on any instrument can come along and have a lesson, and that is all about them finding their own voice. One of the things we did a lot of in the VCA, Victorian College of the Arts,
yeah,
is is trying to find out who we were as musicians as much
mm,
as anything else. And
yeah,
I still take lessons from that course daily.
yeah,
It stays with me because it wasn't just a matter of notes and all that sort of stuff. It was all about a frame of mind.
mm,
Being a course on improvisation, we had it was such a crazy class.
I bet.
We had heavy metal guitarists and a harp player and all
Yeah,
these other
yeah,
things, but we're all just there for music. It was
yeah.
great. Really
So,
phenomenal stuff.
so your music teaching, is it face to face or is it online? Or
It's all face to face.
yeah,
Yep,
where,
yep.
where do
I,
people find you if they're interested in?
uh, on Facebook, I've got an ad, but also I'm happy for you to pass on my phone number if you want to do that. A little thing at the bottom, or my email,
Sure.
or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We can sort that out. But I do all my teaching from Lindisfarne, where I live,
yeah, yeah.
so just
Cool.
over the road, just over the bridge
Yeah,
from Hobart. So it's nice and central. And
yeah,
I've got a good studio set up here. Got my keyboards and all the other things set up that I need to teach. So
yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Um,
it's great. Yeah.
and you mentioned earlier that you're in the early stages of making a documentary.
Yes, I can't say too much about it, except I'll give you a rough outline if you
Yeah,
like. It's a documentary. It's loosely based on the album Dark Side of the Moon, and really it's just on the song titles, not anything
yeah,
to do
yeah,
with And the lyrics. So being the album it was at the time and dealing with the subjects, which was very much to do with Sid Barrett's
Yeah.
leaving the band and all of the mental illness and all of the LSD they were all doing and all that craziness at the time.
Yeah.
But so basically, we're looking at those sort of subjects, but then how they relate to me and through my life,
Yeah.
dealing with the illness, but also very much from a music-based point of view. And where I've been writing for it for the last 2 or 3 months now, and we have a lot of good stuff going on. Interest from some fairly big names, without saying anything else. Yeah, so it's potentially, and really, we just want to get it made. It's with a director friend of mine, Juan, and he look. There's so much stuff. It's all about really helping people. Just giving people a positive way to move forward and understanding that that the things that knock us down, what's that saying? The biggest knockdowns come before the biggest breakthroughs. I love that saying. It's and it's this doco could really help some people. It goes very much into the illness, but also into changing and helping people change frame of mind and that sort of thing. Just offering comfort, but also not to the ill people, just the ill people. The thing that I found after being diagnosed was nobody understood it, least of all me. But that not understanding and not having that openness to connect with me, because the language just isn't there. Everybody sort of distanced themselves from me, but I was a very different person overnight, so it's very hard for people to deal with. The worst thing they could do is distance themselves from the ill person, because like them, the ill person has no idea what's going on. And when you go from having a pretty rich life to nothing, it's not then just the mental illness that has affected you. It's all aspects of your life. And it's not just about, severe, the issue with mental illness is, I'm sure everybody is aware, is that you don't have a cast, you don't have a bandage on, you're not in a wheelchair, People perceive other people as being well without even thinking about it. And, and that's fine, but you don't know what anybody else is thinking and how they're going. And I think, for instance, like language change, I take antipsychotic medication. People hear the word psychotic and they freak out. They freak out. Like I used to. But what is being psychotic? Psychotic is just what happens after you suffer psychosis. And psychosis is any sort of mental, for want of a better word, derangement. But any moving away from normality. So the term antipsychotic medication would be much better if it was changed to antipsychosis medication. Because not everybody who suffers from sort of, if you like, this umbrella of mental illness is going to show the same symptoms. Everybody's different, like in life. So if people were all of a sudden confronted with a new term, antipsychosis, they go, all of a sudden there's a conversation to be had about what it is. As soon as they hear antipsychotic, the lights go out. Ooh, I'm too scared of it. And I know what my reaction to was before I was ill. It wasn't good. But just little simple things like that would make a huge difference. It's about conversation in this space. Because
which is why we're doing this sort of thing, really.
Mate, and more power to you. I think it's a fantastic idea, which is why I wanted to be a part of it, because it's needed, mate. What you're doing is bloody fantastic. It's needed out there.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
I think, we're talking before about, people's reaction to things. And, I think
mm,
most fear is most often or very often just caused by ignorance. And
yeah,
and and I'm using ignorance in the sense of not knowing rather than being ignorant.
yeah, yeah.
Although there is probably a little bit of that too, because people choose to not avail themselves of the information that's there.
Mhm,
Because I guess for a lot of people it's not just the fear, but it's like it's a little bit taboo, so
mhm.
maybe you know
Well, that's the thing. It's still taboo.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's
And
still taboo to talk about your mental illness or your health,
mm,
and that's crazy. That's
yeah,
crazy. We've all got mental
yeah,
health.
yeah,
Some of us have good mental health. Some of us don't.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
thing. We all have a relationship with
mm,
mental health,
yeah,
and all of us have surely known somebody with mental health
mm,
issues.
yeah,
I know I have before
yeah,
myself.
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah,
so it's not like it's not pretty
mm,
plain, easy to see out there, but
yeah,
it's been hidden away for so long. And a part of that is because of the psychological terms,
mm,
the psychiatric terms that get used. But
yeah,
also the changes in medication have been huge in the last 20 years.
yeah, yeah,
I remember when I first got diagnosed, I was told about a medication that was big in the 70s, and it was for schizophrenia, but it would constantly make you want to lick your lips.
mm, yeah,
And I remember seeing somebody at a bus stop when I was young, an old man doing that.
yeah,
Seemed to always be doing it. And I remember seeing somebody else as well, and it actually turned out that the medication they were
mm,
using at that time caused that symptom.
yeah, mm,
So not only are you using a medication to try and feel normal, you're not normal because you've got this other thing going on. But the
yeah,
difference now, I
yeah,
mean, I'm really well medicated now
yeah,
with some very good meds, and it was described to me, I'm on 3 different ones. It's like having a floor, a ceiling, and a roof.
yeah,
So I have a
yeah,
box of things around me to look after me. So I
yeah.
don't have a problem with that, you know.
No,
Nor
no,
should anybody else. If
yeah,
it's what you need to get through, do it.
mm,
We all I know, again, I did, the idea of taking meds for this sort of thing was one to come to terms with, but
mm.
I've tried not taking them.
Yeah. Well,
That's a lot worse. So yeah.
I mean, you don't have to go back very far. I mean, when I was a kid at school in
Hmm.
England, when I was 15, at one stage I was involved with a group who we used to we used to go on a Wednesday evening and play indoor Skittles with the inmates at the lunatic asylum.
Fantastic.
So, you know, like you would never hear somebody who's mentally ill now called an inmate.
No,
And the word lunatic
lunatic asylum.
asylum is, is just not, it's not relevant.
Well, the only time you hear that these days is in the movies.
Yeah, yeah.
That,
But that's only, that's like 40 years ago. It's only
I
40
know.
years ago and it was not only was it referred to as the lunatic asylum, it was one of those old Victorian dark buildings that was, it was sort of, it would be a perfect building for a horror movie or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, we've always been, the mentally ill, and particularly in those times and earlier.
yeah,
They don't want them in people's faces. You know, we like. There's more. You know, I think what you were able to do was amazing.
Mm.
You know, to go and play Skittles with these
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
because for them it would have been incredible.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, and that's the thing about being a human. It's not all about
Yeah.
you.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
You know, we're all, again coming back to what we were talking about before earlier. Is like when none of us are here alone,
No.
and
Yeah.
but how many of us often feel alone?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's because I believe people are afraid to communicate at times, particularly when it's, you know, someone close, or even just, you know, a casual friend. If they can see that they're struggling, they bite their tongue.
Mm.
You know, whereas sometimes it can just be a matter of,
Yeah.
hey, you doing all right? And that can be enough of an opening for people to say, well, actually, you know what, I'm not.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then, you know, then we can be humans together,
Yeah.
you know, care
I've
for
been
each other.
very lucky in that regard, actually, that, you know, when I've had shit going on in my life, or, you know,
Hmm.
patches of depression or near depression, or, you know, whatever it might be, or
Yeah.
even just difficult circumstance, you know, relationship breakups or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Just
none of it's fun.
amazing, supportive group of people that, you know, for me have primarily been my martial arts community.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, you know, and I guess that's one of the other benefits of being in something that's so tight.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think those sort, you know, particularly studying groups, you know, physical things together, like martial arts or sports teams, those sort of things, they do become a group of caring individuals for each other, you know, and
Yeah.
it can be a
Yeah.
very good support network.
Yeah.
Um, it's good that you've had that. You must
Yeah.
really, you obviously recognize that and see that as being a big
Yeah.
help. And I
Yeah.
think if we all thought for just a second of somebody out there that we know that could probably do with a phone call,
Mm.
I'm sure we could all easily think of one person.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's hard when you're dealing with that stuff, isn't it? Because you don't want to overstep your boundaries, but you don't want to necessarily see somebody suffer in silence either.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a hard thing, but I think the more we do it, the easier it's got
Yeah.
to get. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Well, I
think
think,
that's
yeah, it's
if
like
I
a
could say
skill.
if I could say anything for people, it's just like talk, people talk.
Mm.
You know, don't be afraid. You know, and leave the communications open. You know, I've certainly had fallings out with people that I've, you know, left open
Mm.
with the
Yeah.
ability to, you know, fix in the future, and that's happened, and it also hasn't happened with other people. So,
Yeah.
but I think you're right. Those groups, like particularly martial arts groups, I think there is a deep love and understanding and respect for each other that you, because it's
Yeah.
inbuilt, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
well, with the right teacher,
Yeah.
with the right group of people, it's inbuilt every time you go. You know, you feel it,
Yeah.
you know it's there.
Yeah.
It's a big part of it.
Yeah. And I guess it's you know, it's funny because people talk about particular things as being quite tribal, that it's just, you know, and martial arts are a classic example of that.
Mm.
CrossFit is a classic example of that too. You know, and I'm sure there are other things, but they're outside of
Mm.
my, you know,
Yeah.
my area of understanding. But, you know, sometimes people talk about those things as being tribal in a, you know, both in a positive and a negative way. But I think
Yeah.
we're we're meant to be tribal.
Well, we are very much tribal. We're a tribal species. That's just what we are.
Yeah, yeah,
And but we, of course, we gravitate to like-minded people.
mm, yeah,
It'd seem weird if we didn't, you know, and
yeah,
that's why you end up with great martial arts clubs,
yeah,
or, you know,
yeah,
musicians who you put together and they just create magic, or,
mm,
you
yeah,
know, that sort of thing. It's all, we are tribal, and it's a very important part of our self awareness too, you know, or our self understanding, you know, of
mm,
where we sit in amongst things.
yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, and
Yeah, no,
the
it's.
tribal,
I mean, martial arts is great for that.
yeah, the martial arts clubs that are well led
Yeah.
are
Well, it's that saying, isn't it?
around a long time, aren't they?
Well, they are, and it's like any situation, whether or not it's business or martial arts or anything. It's always, um, the fish rots from the head down. If you don't have a good
Mm.
a good
Yeah,
teacher, a good leader of your club,
yeah,
it's not going to last.
mm,
Because only a certain amount of people are going to be gullible enough or
yeah,
follow through with that long enough for it to exist for any length of time. It's the one great thing I not one, there's so many great things I love about martial arts, but there's no, it is that ego left at the door thing,
mm,
thinking about it. It's
yeah,
like, just forget about what you think you know or who you think you are.
yeah,
Get on the mat and train,
yeah,
it's, yeah, and that comes back to that being in the moment. You
mm,
turn up, empty cup on the floor.
yeah.
Here we go. You know?
Has Solly tried to rope you into the BJJ?
Well, look, I unfortunately had my second back operation about 13 weeks ago. I
Okay.
had one at the start of last year. I
Yeah.
got rear-ended by a bus
Oh no. Yeah.
in 2019
Yeah.
in September. So I've been dealing with that, and my
Mm,
surgeon doesn't really want me to go back to martial arts,
mm,
which I'm a little bit annoyed at, but it hasn't really stopped me.
yeah.
What I've been doing is I've been doing a lot of self-training.
Yeah.
So I not only have the weapons and things from my years and years and years of training it
Yeah.
with Butzinkan. I mean, I did a long time training. I mean, you don't, if you get a second belt, black belt in anything and you can get it in the first 2 years, it's not a real black belt.
No.
You got to work for it. You got to want it, and you got to turn up those times when you think you deserve it.
Yeah.
And that's the time you don't deserve it. And when you
Yeah.
turn up and they go, "Oh, here's your black belt," that's because you've forgotten about wanting it and you're just
Yeah.
doing the work. And I'll never forget the day I got mine. It was great.
Mm,
And but it's life is perseverance. I mean, what other choice do you have? It's pushing through those things that you do achieve
mm,
and can look back on and go, I'll never forget when I got it. It was just a life-changing moment.
mm.
And took me a long time, but we in Bujinkan, we have 9 green belts, 9 green levels,
Yeah.
but you only ever get 1 green belt. And the
Yeah.
whole idea is that you can't tell what level a green belt is at.
Mm,
They come and you're not in competition with any other green belts.
yeah.
You know what your level is, and
Yeah.
so do they, and you might share with each other, but it's unimportant.
No.
We sort of we don't really consider that you know what you're doing until you get a black belt anyway. So I think, and then it's that whole thing. Yeah, but I don't know anything. So I would love to be training in that again, but I do a lot of weapons training, a lot of sword work.
Yeah.
I love samurai sword work, but I did a lot of study in Kali or a
Oh yeah.
screamer. It's also
Yeah.
known as the double baton.
Yeah.
The rattan sticks, and
Yeah.
I love that. It's a really beautiful, free flowing form. But the other one, the one I really love is bow staff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I've done lots and lots of hours with that, and that's a true joy to use. So I do mainly weapons training. I
Yeah.
can't roll at the moment with my back.
No.
And I've managed to get my weight down to the low 90s
Yeah.
before I went into hospital, and then since, just to be lighter on my body. I mean, I'm 50, I'm not getting any younger. How
Yeah.
we all feel at this age. We're starting
Yeah.
to, slow down just a little. And
Yeah.
so it was a matter of wanting to train still, but then having to find my way of doing it. It's like anything in life.
Yeah.
There's challenges, but if you really want to do it, you'll find a way. and so I can't do the roles. I can't, which means going to training is not really fair on the person I'm training with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm not prepared to do that, but I'm more than prepared to train. So pretty much doing three lots of weapon work, and then not really it's just stance work, but not kata work as such. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you'd think that stuff would probably be good for your back as well. You'd think, wouldn't you? Because you're working through
good ranges
of movements, and and without a load, without an additional load on the spine. So you'd think that
all the leg work and the movement is great. The screamer sticks, very lightweight, but great for the flexibility. And you're always moving your lower half as well. So there's all that.
Yeah.
The heaviest weapon I've got's the bow. It's funny. There was me and another mate. We were running the dojo before Duncan came back. Yeah. He's about 4 foot nothing, and I'm 6 foot. He had this bow he gave me, which is more designed for my height. And the way they used to do it in Japan was that you would stand up, and then you would hold your hand like this, but all the way high, and that was how high your bow had to be.
Oh wow! Yeah.
But this one's like 7 foot, so it's perfect for me. But it weighs a ton, so I have to be a little bit careful with that. But the sword work's great. That's really good for lots of things. Power and there's so much in just drawing a sword correctly. That even just doing that over and over is it's very meditative.
Yeah. Actually, I had I think it was ash or something bow.
Yeah.
20 odd years ago when I was doing Japanese jiu-jitsu. It was
Yeah. Well, I like because we also use hambo and jo. So the hambo's the smaller one, the jo's the whatever 3 foot,
3 foot,
the 6 foot,
yeah.
But the hambo was one of my favorites because it's basically anything. You could do it with an umbrella, easy. A walking stick, and it's some of the coolest techniques. It's just like bang, whack. Oh yeah, that'll do. It's just
Yeah.
Our grandmaster, who's finally picked a follow on, but Duncan actually was very, very blessed when he left from here to go and he moved to Japan. He was so good that he ended up becoming the Hatsumi's uke every class.
Oh wow!
And that's massive. Like
he
would just rock up, stand there, and Hatsumi rock Duncan, and that was for years. And then he spent a number of he spent a number of years working for the dojo, traveling the world, teaching seminars.
Yeah, cool.
So he's very knowledgeable with that style. I mean, obviously he just lives it and loves it. But yeah, he it's such a great art. But there's so many great things out there to study.
Yeah. Where's the dojo in Hobart?
It's in Macquarie Street, right, just a couple of doors up from the Astor Grill. That's Macquarie Street, isn't it? Yeah, so just down the road from the corner of Macquarie and Harrington. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just down a little alley there, and there's a sign up there. But he's been a great person to study with, but there's always work to be done. There's always stuff I want to get better at and do. But the sword's great because it's a little, it's like training and everything. Once you get the understanding of how it all works, you can start being creative. And then, so I'll start, instead of drawing with a hand over like that, you can draw underneath and different ways as well. So you can start becoming your own interpretation of, of the swordsman. It's not the sort of thing you're going to need.
No, but it's I
But
think, as you were saying earlier about the samurai, it's maybe practice of things like that maybe help create the habit of doing everything to the best of your ability.
yes.
And always.
And I was blessed because I had music before I got into martial arts, but it wouldn't have mattered if I had martial arts and then got into music. It would have been the same.
Yeah.
In fact, the very first martial art I studied was judo when I was a teenager in high school.
Yeah.
Which annoyed the hell out of me because I actually wanted to study karate.
Yeah.
But I was already playing a lot of music, and my parents at the time were, if you go into karate, you're going to end up, having hands like this and blah, blah, blah. And I said, so we signed you up for judo, which is fine. I did judo for a couple of years and it was good. I learned. Yeah. It was a great, actually, not just good, it's a great basis as far as the martial arts journey goes. It really is. Their ability to use their hips and sweeping, judging the weight somebody might have on their leg and things like that. That's a really interesting part of judo. But it wasn't what I wanted to study. And I think if I'd gone straight into karate and learnt to punch and kick, then all of my journey would have changed musically and martial arts wise, because being the size I am and, pretty much quick physical learner and things at the time, I could quite easily have seen myself going down a fighting path, going and studying different martial arts, Muay Thai and things, and doing that sort of more professional fighting thing, because I've definitely got the spirit for it. I'm a fighter, and but I'm an artist and a lover as well. So they all go hand in hand. Yeah. So. But that isn't the journey. It became more of a music one, and I'm certainly, I love the fact of that, because music is one of those things that age is less important than, let's face it, our flexibility gets less, so if you are doing a kicking martial art, you have to spend more time on flexibility and things like that. But that's, as we get older, we all have to do that in one way or another. So whether or not it's just a decent walk every now and then, every day, or, something more serious. So,
and you've got your instruments behind you at the moment, or a couple of them.
I do. Yeah, this is my nylon string. It's not quite in tune. I didn't actually tune them up ready to play anything for.
What's that?
Yeah, I've got a collection of.
Is that a 5-string bass behind you?
That's a 5-string bass. I've got you probably see the globe sitting there, but this is my little collection of bass heads and guitar bits and pieces. I don't know if you can see any of that. Yeah, there they are, and a few more over there. But there's always another bass or another guitar that I want to buy.
Yeah, I think my son just brought himself a new acoustic guitar recently, and then he brought himself a new microphone, and you got his little home studio. I'm sure you got your little home studio set up on your computer or something there. Yeah,
it's right there. Right there. I won't turn it around, but it's all set up for recording of any instrument. I've got my guitar amps, bass amps there, so I'm always ready to just pretty much plug the computer in and go to record. And it's such a major part of my life now, because I don't do many live gigs. It's just unfortunate, but it is how it is at the moment. But my main recording band at the moment, or the main band I work with, is a band called the Silver Beats, as in the vegetable. And we've been doing really well overseas. We've got lots of great airplay in America and across Europe and things, just in a lot of college radio stations play us. Bit hard to describe. It's definitely rock with a whole bunch of other stuff in there.
I'll have a listen.
Hey,
Can I find you on Spotify or something?
yes, you certainly can. Just look up the Silver Beats.
Will do.
SILVERBEETS. And
Yeah.
it's good. All the records until the one we're recording now, I've been playing bass on.
Yeah.
But our guitarist, unfortunately, is quite ill at the moment.
Yeah.
With cancer. So when that first came to my knowledge, I asked if instead of getting another guitarist to give me the opportunity to get my playing up to speed.
Yeah.
To play the guitar in the band as well. So now not only am I playing the bass, I'm playing most of the guitar, doing some backing vocals. And this will be the first album on where I've written songs with lyrics.
Oh, cool.
So come up with complete songs. I've written a lot of instrumentals before.
Yeah.
But I've really fallen in love with singers and songwriting, and
so
and I listen.
This is being recorded now, or it's
yeah. We've got Farns. That's my recording partner, my band partner.
Yeah.
He has a wonderful home studio in his backyard, and we pretty much go there as often as we can. Or it's been a little bit hit and miss lately with a few things going on, but we're furiously putting down some really good music, and it's coming together great. So we're really happy, and that we're hoping to release, in the early quarter of next year.
Cool.
But we've already got songs, for the next album, I think, as well. So it's a continuous moving feast, but it's like I love it. Recording it's got all the elements of playing live. When you record, you really want to be in there with the music. You can't be separate from it. So you've got to have that ability to connect with it.
Yeah.
Just orderly.
Yeah.
So there's no other visual cues from a band member when I record. I have headphones on and I'm either playing guitar or bass. Yeah. So there's no interplay, which is what it's like when you're in a live situation.
Yeah.
But it's great because you can play something and you can listen back to it straight away.
Yeah.
And live music has none of that. Once you play a note, it's gone.
Yeah.
That's it. But when it's recorded, and it allows you to try things that you wouldn't try otherwise. Different recording techniques, or like harmonizing a note in different ways. And I've loved it. It's just been awesome. Like playing guitar.
The bass player when I put this up, I don't know if you've watched any of the other ones, but
yes, I have.
The intro music was put together by my son, the bass player from his band, and the engineer for his band, who's also a drummer.
Yeah.
And, so anyway, Matt laid out the whole thing, basically guitar, bass, drums, and then sent it off to them to redo their bits as they saw fit. The bass player sent him back, I think, 5 versions. So with 5 very different, and I ended up saying to Matt, you choose. You've got a much better ear than me. You choose the one that you think works the best. But the bass player recorded 5 different versions and just sent them all back.
Yeah, that's probably too much of a choice. I've got a mate. This is such a weird part of the industry. I've got a mate who grew up here. He's a bit younger than me. A guy called Andy Page.
Yeah,
he's recently been on stage with playing guitar with Queen. He's done recordings with Alanis Morissette and all these sort of people. He's really great spiritual dude as well. And it's just, I think of, he was born with perfect pitch, but he always used to say, it drives the hell out of me. I said, why is that? I mean, you can hear a note and you know what it is. He said, yeah, but if a car brake screeches, I hear it as a note.
Yeah.
And it's never in tune. He said, so I'll hear a car or something, I'll hear something, it'll always be sharp or flat. He said, it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, those things that we often see as benefit can actually
Yeah.
be, these crazy kind of holding you back as well, But
Yeah.
music's a fascinating thing. It really is. And
Yeah.
I mean, I can record, I've been recording at home for 15 years,
Yeah.
but go back 25 years,
That was
you'd
impossible.
have to,
Yeah.
you'd have to pay
Yeah.
thousands of dollars to just go and do one of basic recording of a couple of minutes, And
Yeah.
now, we don't use tape, it's all digital. So if you
Yeah.
don't want it, you just delete it and start again. Make sure you don't always delete it, though. That can be a mistake I've made.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to delete something and then think, I wish I hadn't deleted.
Oh, yeah. That's happened to anybody who started music recording. Yeah. But I've learned so much. I've gone from, having a very basic setup to, much better mics and a better mixer and sound card and all that sort of thing. So, and now it's, you still got to buy things, but it's cheap as chips compared to what it used to be.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember as a teenager living at home, I was actually at high school, and I used to use 2 tape players. One had a record, microphone in it.
Yeah.
So I'd record a guitar part.
Yeah.
And then I'd play it on the other one and play guitar to it. So it had 2 tracks.
Yeah.
I found I could get about 4 tracks before it got so noisy that you couldn't, make a lot of sense out of it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, I started doing that without really even thinking of it as multi-tracking.
Yeah.
But the more you get into the side of recording things, it's magical. Well, Pete Townsend, from The Who, he invented quadraphonic in his studio because he wanted to hear it, and nobody had ever done it before, so he invented it. I mean, this is some pretty amazing stuff that people do.
Yeah. Great band too, The Who. I saw The Who.
Oh, you saw them?
I saw The Who.
John Entwistle, my goodness.
Yeah. I saw The Who, and they had Zach Starkey playing drums.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say it was maybe 15, 18 years ago that came to Australia. Yeah. Phenomenal. They were just, from the moment they walked on stage until the moment they went off stage, they were just dynamic, powerful, spot on. Consummate professionals. Really, had the crowd involved. Just but
I think when you see performers like that, when they just lay it all on the line, and it's like seeing a great fighter that lays it all on the line. You appreciate it for what it is. I got to see James Brown twice. Once in Melbourne, and when not long before he died, when he came down here. The Melbourne show was incredible. It was 2 hours long. He would have been on stage himself an hour and a half at least, but continually moving and dancing. The show was just phenomenal. But his band was the biggest band I've ever seen. He had 2 bass players, for goodness sake. He had 2 bass players, 4 guitarists, 2 drummers, the percussionists. It was just huge. It's crazy.
The energy some of those guys have got well into their, 50s, 60s, 70s. Look at Jagger.
Well, I was about to say, Jagger's still going, and you see videos of him, and you think, God, how's he that fit?
Yeah, crazy.
70.
Yeah. What's his name?
And how is Keith Richards still going? I mean, probably because he's really well pickled, but...
We've probably been talking for probably an hour and a half, I think.
Really? Wow. Oh, goodness, yes.
Yeah. So
it's felt like about 15 minutes.
Yeah. We might maybe sometime down the track we'll do another one.
Yep, love to.
But I'm going to.
You got friends coming.
I'm going to look up the Silver Beaks.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you want to put up anything about my teaching, I'll send you the teaching ads if
Yeah,
you
if
want.
you could, that'll be great.
Yep.
Um, And yeah, I've really enjoyed chatting to you.
I've really enjoyed chatting to you too. Yeah, it's been really good.
It's good having these conversations, and you know, it's
Oh,
interesting.
and again, to you,
Yeah,
well, to you, James, really, mate, more power to you. This is the sort of thing that we all need, you know. Guys really need this. They need this safety of feeling that they can talk to each other, you know, and this is
totally.
what, you know, be empowered by who you are, and, you know, but know that we're just human beings, all of us, you know, we all have fragilities and strengths, and, you know, we're all forged in fire one way or another.
Yeah, so. And taking it back to your dark side of the moon.
Yeah.
After all, we're only ordinary men.
Exactly. And we all are. We're all the same. We're all the same. People are just all the same, dealing with the same shit. So, you know, why don't we just make it easier for each other? And guys have a responsibility to, you know, I think now if you've been through some stuff and you can help things, make things easier for other people, we need to do that. We need to be there for each other, because there's been so much of our history where it's stiff upper lip and, you know, men don't cry and all that bullshit. You know, it's not true. No. We're human beings with hearts and minds and souls, you know, totally. and you got to look after all of that, you know, and bodies and all that as well. But, you know, we all want to love and we all want to be loved, you know. It's
and I think if we all have a bit more understanding and
compassion
and go out of our way to be kind, you know, the world will be a much better place. So
wouldn't it just? It's been great talking to you, mate. Really has. It's been absolutely phenomenal. So
thanks so much. I'll if you could send me any links that you want me to post.
Yep.
I'll put them up.
I'll do that for you now.
And we'll catch up in person sometime. Have coffee or something.
I'd love that. Really love that. Yeah. Awesome, mate.
Thanks for coming on.
Great. Thanks again, dude. You're champion.
Cheers, man. Bye.
See you, mate. Bye.